and welcome to Quilt Moxie, the podcast, where Quilt Moxie meets Craftsy.com, an online community dedicated to providing the best education and resources for crafters. Join me, Ariana, your host, and come along on my video journey where I participate in the Craftsy online classes and community. Meet up with us online at quiltmoxie.com or at your favorite hangout, Craftsy, Ravelry, Facebook, Twitter. Check the credits at the end of the show for more. You can also subscribe to our mailing list to get your next and every episode with show notes delivered directly to your email as soon as the episode is available. It's as simple as dropping your email address and checking Receive Podcast by email. Welcome to episode 7, or welcome back. It's fall. And it's going to be Halloween soon, and this episode scares me. I am knitting scared. Today on the episode, we'll be going in the gallery. I have some Entrelac socks that I'd like to show you. I have more on crazy lace with Myra wood. I have knit to flatter, and we have lots of double knitting with Alasdair Post-Quinn and Lucy Neatby. And I'm hoping to even put a little demo into today's episode. So I have lots to share with you. So let's get started. In the gallery today, I have a quilt created in 2008. It is called Tied Up in Bows. The original quilt was also a Quilt As You Go scrap quilt, and I had submitted it to the QNN Designer Challenge and was selected as one of the winning entries. I don't remember what place it was, but I did get a lot of wonderful feedback and people really enjoyed looking at it, so I thought I'd showcase it here today. So let's get started with Entrelac Socks. Last episode was all about socks, and I was considering doing some Entrelac socks now that I've taken the course on Craftsy with Gwen Bortner on Entrelac knitting. And in the book, The Knitter's Workshop by Stephanie van der Linden, at the back of the book there was a pair of Entrelac socks that interested me. And I said, well, why don't we do that, and we'll create a pair of socks for hubby. So hubby had previously already selected some yarn for his socks because he does not really like Mom's vintage stash socks. So here are the finished Entrelac socks that I ended up creating following the pattern. So what's interesting about this pair of socks is this is another case of knitting three socks to get one pair. I did start 2 socks at the same time, and I had the patterns matching for the cuffs. They're cuffed down. And then when I followed the pattern, the original cuff worked out to being, I had already knitted all the way down to the gusset and I had done the heel turn, and hubby found them too slouchy on the cuff. So here you can see sort of this difference in size. So I started again and created another sock by making the cuff portion of it slightly smaller. And because the Entrelac by its own nature, is on the bias, you have a lot of give to it. So the final fitting socks, which are just a little bit smaller than the original pattern, fit wonderfully. I really did like the heel, the combination gusset and short row heel that I put on the socks. I really like it. So this was the other pair of socks that I knit for hubby, and hubby has already reported back to me that he really likes his socks. He hasn't tried these ones on yet, but he tried the other pair and he says he doesn't know what it is. It feels like your feet are being massaged as you're walking in them. So he enjoys homemade, home knitted socks. So I'm guessing that I'll be knitting more socks for hubby. So that's my report on the Entrelac portion of today's show. Now I'm going to go and begin with some of the scary stuff that I'm a little bit scared, but like Jerry Yarnell, the painter, he says, let's just do it scared. And that's what we're going to do. So for the Crazy Lace Cardigan by Myra Wood on Craftsy, you can see I'm wearing the bolero. The last time we left off, I didn't have the button band on, but the button band is on now. I think I'm going to stand up just so that you can see it a bit better. So here is the button band, and I wore a dark sweater so that you could see the contrast a bit better. It fits wonderfully. I backed the buttons with another button so that it would be easy to give some stability to the buttons. And put on the button band, and of course on the bottom of the button band, here you go, you're going to see a little bit of crochet. So I added a bit of crochet. I think it's going to be a theme to most of my knitting, that somehow I'm going to be bringing out the crochet hook to finish it off. So this is the finished bolero. And the next project in Myra's class is a cardigan. So as soon as I finished the bolero, Mom showed up with just in time with more wool from her vintage stash. So here is what she brought me. She brought me country style DK machine washable wool, and I have it now in 2 colors. So my next cardigan will be made out of this by Myra Wood. I have done the swatch, or I've begun part of the swatch, because Myra suggests that you also swatch the lace portion of the cardigan, and I've done it in 3 different needle sizes. So I'm not sure which one I like, but the drape, this wool is very, very soft and very drapey, so not sure which one I'm going to end up picking, which needle size to knit the rest of the cardigan. But that's not the part that scares me. The part that scares me is when I decided to sign up for the Knit to Flatter class on Craftsy, Knit to Flatter. And this class is by Amy Herzog, and she basically suggests that it would be worth our while to knit cardigans or projects to flatter our body type. And she describes 3 different body types, and you have to begin by taking a photograph of yourself and measuring and determining what kind of body type you are. And she goes through talking about what kind of features or features you should be highlighting on your cardigan or sweater, or choosing for the sweaters that you're going to knit in order to flatter your body. So I've decided that I'm going to use Myra Wood's Crazy Lace Cardigan, this one, and I'm going to try to knit it to follow the Knit to Flatter formula that Amy Herzog has outlined in her class, and I'm going to be sharing that with you, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so that's all I can show you for the Crazy Lace Cardigan class, and now the ultra scary part of the episode begins, and that is double knitting. So I began the double knitting experience with Alasdair Post-Quinn, his class, and I've completed 2 of the projects, and I'm about to begin the 3rd project, which is his hat, and it also includes cabling. So I haven't gotten to the hat, but I will share with you the 2 projects that I've done. So the first project to get into double knitting, he has us do a little sort of a diamond square swatch, which basically you're knitting two colors at the same time, and they sort of reverse the pattern on the other side of the knit fabric. What I've learned since I've taken these two classes, I've taken also the class on double knitting by Lucy Neatby, I'll get into that shortly, is the difference between the Fair Isle and the double knitting is that the double knitting class you still have stretch and drape to the finished fabric, whereas with the Fair Isle, because of the stranded knitting, it's sort of, it doesn't have as much stretch to it. Like the fabric is not as malleable, I guess would be the word. So here's another one. It was quite an easy project to do. The double knitting part, the challenge I find is in the gauge of the fabric that you produce. It's, in my case, it's a lot looser than my regular. Had I knit this two different swatches, they would be a lot tighter. So my gauge is a lot looser. And the other challenge I find is on the sides. I don't really know how to get really nice sides. Now Alasdair, he shows us his preferred way of getting a nice matching side, which I followed. But it's, and I don't know, maybe I'm getting really picky now, but it's a slip stitch version. So for every two rows, you'll see one loop on the edge on both sides. My favorite way of doing it is by using, and I'm hoping to add this demo at the end of this episode for you, is by using Judy Becker's Magic cast on in order to cast on, instead of the cast on that that was part of the class. The class cast on looks somewhat like this, so you can see that the two colors are showing, whereas the Judy Becker Magic cast on, you'll see a seamless transition from one color to the other. I'm not even sure if this is where I cast on or if this is where I cast on, because instead of doing the cast off that Alasdair Post-Quinn has recommended, which I did on this one, on this swatch, they match, I decided to do the Kitchener stitch to cast off. And I find that the cast on and the cast off match wonderfully when you do that with a Kitchener stitch. And so here I tried a couple of different variations on casting on, casting off. I have another one here. I don't know what I did here, but here's another variation. And here the cast on, I think, was the Myra wood crochet cast on both sides and then double knitting the two together. Not sure. So I did a couple of those swatches, and then I did the Duvino cowl. So the Duvino cowl is double knitting following Alasdair's pattern. I'm not sure if you can see the whole. And this is from Mom's acrylic collection. And the different acrylic wool colors are different in texture, so I don't recommend what I did here, which is using different yarn thicknesses to do it. And over here I decided to cut it in half. So this is my Duvino scarf in 100% acrylic. And I did the Magic, Judy's Magic cast on. magic loop cast on and Kitchener stitch cast off. So I cast it off all the way around using Kitchener stitch, which I'll hope to show you as a demo as well in another future episode. So I'm pretty good at doing the Kitchener now, having done this entire Duvino scarf double knitting. It's a lot of fun. I find it's a challenge to think about. There's a lot of trying to get your mind around doing double knitting. It's every stitch is really 2 stitches. You've got a knit and a purl, one of each color in this case, and the challenge is to get your mind around it. And because I'm doing a class in Craftsy, I'm not very tough on myself. So if I accidentally made a mistake or a stitch is not in the right place, I don't care that much. Not enough to change it or go back, because if you're gonna see it from here, well, I don't see it from here. I like the pattern the way it came out, and if there are any mistakes, which I'm not sure if there are, it doesn't bother me. It was a fun knit, challenging in the sense that you really have to sort of think about, you know, which color you're putting as a purl and which one is a knit. So then I decided, I don't see why I would take another Craftsy class on double knitting when I'm taking this class with Alasdair Post-Quinn. And in the end, I did cave in. They had a huge sale, and I decided I was going to sign up for Lucy Neatby's double knitting class. And I am so glad that I did that, because really there is very, very little overlap. And what I like about Lucy Neatby's class so far is she really talks or focuses in on the quality of the knitting stitch, which appeals to me. I really like that she takes the time to analyze how to get the very best stitch quality in double knitting. And right at the beginning of the class, she sort of talks about gauge and how the gauge of a double knitted garment is different from regular knitted garments. So the first project that I did in her class is this little sort of phone cozy, I guess she calls it, or in my case I carry the iPod in there. I don't know where my iPod is right now. It's not even my iPod, it's my son's iPod. But it does fit in wonderfully, and I put in the iPod and my phone, and it's a very practical little item. So the difference in Lucy's class is that the double knitting is with one yarn, whereas Alasdair Post-Quinn's projects are 2 different colors, 2 different sides that reflect one another. This one is one yarn. I had some leftover sock yarn, and I did the double knitting project doing that. So basically what happens is you end up with a tube. And what I do is, again, I like to begin, which is different from Lucy's class. So I'm going to be doing a little demo to show you how I do this. I use Judy Becker's Magic Cast On in with a twist, with a little different spin to it, and I'll show that to you shortly. And that's how I begin, and then she shows how she does the double knitting with one yarn. The other thing that I'm looking forward to getting into in Lucy's class is that she has embedded pockets that she knits using the double knitting technique, which I think is going to be really amazing for adding pockets seamlessly to garments. She also has, she shows double knitted socks. So the sole of your sock is basically doubled. for people who have very cold feet, or maybe I might use it to create sort of a slipper, double layered slipper bottom for socks. So that's what I like about Lucy's class. I'm looking forward to doing her other two projects. So she has a project that's going to be the double layered sock soles, and the other one is going to be an iPad, I guess, cozy with a built-in pocket for your, well, probably in my case it's my son's iPod. So I'm looking forward to doing those two items. I'm going to demonstrate Judy Becker's Magic Cast On. With a spin, you're going to see I have my circular needles here. I have a crochet hook, and I have one double pointed needle as well. You're going to begin with 2 different color yarns. You can do this with 1 yarn. This is just for the demonstration, so it's visually clearer. Place a slip knot of the 2 yarns on one of the needles. The double pointed needle goes in the middle between the 2. I use it to tension my yarn. In my opinion, it gives an even tension to the stitches that you're producing. So here is the cast on. A lot of you are already familiar with it, so I'm not really going to go into detail on how I'm doing it. And when you look at the original demonstration on video by Judy Becker herself, she says that it doesn't matter if you're coming over, under, or however. What it does do is it will just affect the way the stitches present themselves. So I'm going to do 8 stitches of purple and 9 stitches of the white. And the reason I do this, especially when you're casting on for a toe, is so that the stitches will match better, because if you're doing 8 and 8, they will offset each other by about half a stitch. So on the back, I'm going to keep the purple yarn in my hand, and I will be doing my first row in white. So here we can see that the DPN needle is keeping the stitches nice and even in the middle. So the first thing I will do is I will pull my circular needle out from the bottom, then I will remove the DPN, and my first row of knitting I will use a crochet hook, and that is so that I don't distort the stitches. I just find it a lot easier just for the first row to do it in a crochet hook. So here we go. And many of you know that I like to do the reverse knitting, mirror knitting, backwards knitting, whatever you want to call it. And on Craftsy, it's Gwen Bortner's class on Entrelac where she shows you how to do backward knitting. So I'm going to backward knit with the crochet hook. The second row I'm going to knit back. The only thing you have to remember is that the hook part should not be facing the needle, and that will make it very easy for you to knit using a crochet hook for the first row. Okay, so now we're going to be knitting backwards, going back. So, knitting backwards with a crochet hook. And the first stitch was actually the 2 stitches together. And so here we've done 2 rows. Now I'm going to turn it and twist my white and the purple yarns. And we're going to do the first row of the purple. So I pull back the purple stitches, and I will just take the bottom needle, pull it out because it's easier to knit that way. And the first row of the purple is going to actually be purling. So I will reverse knit, backwards knit, purling the first row. I'm no longer using the crochet hook. If, for example, when I'm using sock yarns, sometimes I will also reverse knit with the crochet hook because the yarn is so much smaller. Now I've come up to the slip knot, which I don't need, so I just remove it off the needle and I knit back. And once I knit back, I'm in a position to, when I'm doing the double knitting, for example, to set up to do double knitting. I have the 2 yarns here, so I would just fold these together, put them all on one needle, and do my double knitting. And you can see what a nice, and even you can see by having knitted those 2 stitches together, the purple and the white stitches are lying on top of one another. They're not offset by half a stitch. Okay, so let's take a look at the back. Here's the back of the cast on using the DPN. If you find here, for example, I could have used a DPN that was slightly smaller. I can see that there's a bit of a gap here because of the thickness of the DPN. So this is a judgment call, and because it's so simple and very fast, you can just redo it with maybe a smaller DPN. But if it was for the double knitting, I would have kept that because it just gives just a little bit extra slack for me to begin this way of knitting. Now this will give me an opportunity to also show you how I like to hold my yarn when I'm doing either fair isle or double knitting. And I do continental knitting, and the way I hold my 2 colored yarns makes it so that it's very easy for me to knit fair isle without having to constantly pick up and drop my yarn. So let's say we were going to begin some fair isle knitting. So the first thing I do is I have my pinky, and then I twist it and go between the 2 colors like this, and then I point my middle finger into it, and then I set up like this. And what this does is when I'm knitting, for example, fair isle, I can easily pick whatever color I want, and both the colors are being fed with their own tension. So if I did 3 purple stitches, the tension would not be changing on the white yarn. And I use this technique for knitting my double knitting as well, and I find that it works really, really well. So again, when I'm picking up my yarn, I pick up with my pinky, I do a twist, and then I put my ring finger between the 2 colors, and then I stab my middle finger, and then I rotate, and this is my setup for fair isle or double knitting, so that I have even tension on both yarns and I do not have to readjust the way I hold my yarn because it's being evenly tensioned. So I hope you enjoyed this little demo on the Judy Becker Magic Cast On using a crochet hook and a DPN, and also the way I hold my fair isle or stranded knitting or double knitting 2 yarns at the same time when I'm doing continental knitting. Thank you. So I'd like to end this scary episode by taking you out into my backyard. Last year they built these wind turbines, and I have a wind turbine farm now in my backyard. It just looks so cool, and it's a beautiful autumn day here in Quebec. Thought I'd share that with you. They're sort of fun to watch, very relaxing. I'd like to thank you for joining me here today, and invite you to come back again next time when I continue my scary knitting with Myra Wood's class Crazy Lace Cardigan, combining that with Amy Herzog's Knit to Flatter, and more double knitting with Alasdair Post-Quinn and Lucy Neatby. I'd like to invite you to join our Ravelry group. You can find me as Sew Quilt Moxie, SEWQUILTMOXIE, or just join Quilt Moxie the podcast, the group. I'm starting to get a hang of my way around Ravelry, and I'm starting to join other podcast groups, and I'm having a lot of fun with that website. It's an awesome website. Check it out. You can see all the projects that I'm doing on Craftsy in Ravelry, as well as craftsy.com. If you get a chance, I know a lot of the podcasters would really appreciate an iTunes rating. It's not easy to rate a podcast through iTunes, but if you do have a couple of minutes and you're willing to do that effort, it goes a long way in helping our knitting podcasts and crafting podcasts get some visibility on iTunes. Thank you again for joining us here today, and hope to see you next time. Bye for now. À la prochaine.